Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application, make sure to let them know Captain's Log sent you.
Have either of you experienced any blackouts, stretches of time that you can't account for?
I roam for eternity, said the dead.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one. It's a scream, baby.
What's the matter with you people? I was joking! Don't you know a joke when you hear one?
Stardate 06/29/2021. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Captain's Log. This is your first officer speaking, Mason Schrader, joined virtually by my co-host and gracious, patient, loving, dare I say, the man I would lay my life down for? Wow. Yours and mine, Captain Sir Jose Valle Jr. Jose, how are you? Have you eaten today?
I haven't eaten yet, actually. What do you need from me? Do you need something? Is that what
I don't need anything. No, I just think...
It seems like you really need it. That was very nice.
Here's the thing. Here's what happened. I wrote the intro to this last. So
Okay.
it's possible that after writing a whole episode, maybe I learned a little more appreciation for all the work that you do every episode, Jose.
Did you have
Maybe
to read a
that's
book?
it. I didn't. I chose to read a book and then decided to do it, but I did read a book, and man, it's not easy. You deserve more credit
Thank
than
you.
I give
I
you, which is
appreciate
zero.
Thank you.
Well, regardless of whether you've eaten today or not, this episode is gonna make you hungry.
Ooh.
Because today we are talking about infamous killer, cowboy, and culinary adventurer, the man-eater, the human hyena, which is my favorite, I think, nickname for
That is
someone,
pretty fucking dope. I like that.
Alfred Packer.
Oh.
And before we begin, we'll state the obvious out of the way for the listeners. Every captain needs a break, right?
Uh-huh.
Every captain gets tired. We've all seen that meme of Picard where he's like got his head down in his hands. And do you know why he looks like that in that picture?
No. Well, why?
Because he was sleepy from working so hard and being a captain and everything. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't watch Star Trek, so
I haven't seen all of the Next Generation, so
anyway.
we'll get crucified for that one. But
Today, I will be taking over our main storyteller duties as soon as I get official permission. So, Jose, if you would be so kind to give me the bridge.
Mr. Schrader, you have the bridge.
Thank you so much. Awesome. So, without further ado, let's talk about Alfred Packer. November 12th, 1842, Alfred G. Packer is born one of 8 children in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. Alfred's father, James, was a carpenter whose most notable accomplishments include lying about being related to railroad pioneer in like the 1840s equivalent of a celebrity Asa Packer, who I did a little bit of research on, and he literally just was like a rich guy, so people were like, that's impressive, and then he was like, in order to prove how impressive I am, I'm going to lie about being cousins with him.
Yeah. That's like how I tell everybody that Tarantino's my godfather.
Yes,
And everyone's
correct,
like,
yeah.
that's not true. And I'm like, no, it is. Have
And
ever
how
heard
you
him
keep
deny
going
it?
around saying that, like, I'm actually cousins with the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
And it's like, but isn't your name Valle? And they're like, and you're just like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. San Fernando Valle. So.
And James Packer's other most noticeable accomplishment was, as his obituary put it, quote, reached an age not attained by any other person in this county when he died at the age of 96.
Holy shit. Wow.
So he was hot shit.
Yeah,
right? This guy was hot shit.
Everybody else is dying. What year is this? 1840s?
1842.
Yeah, everybody else is dying.
Well,
at like
not when
fucking,
he died, I guess, but
everybody else is dying at like fucking 40 and
yes.
30. They're like, he lived a long life of 36 years old, and you're like, oh my God.
But it is great that, how sad is it that your two best accomplishments are lied about being related to a person.
Related to someone and then being 96.
And being 96.
Wow.
Which, honestly, that is impressive, because 96 is a decent time to live for today, you know?
Yeah, my grandpa lived to 95, so not quite to 96, but that always, like, baffles me that he saw, like, all of the 20th century, and I'm like,
right.
What the fuck was his brain like? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
to go from, like horses and stuff to, like, cars and then airplanes and and then the internet. Like, what a fucking ride.
To see
his grandson
predict science fiction and then to live in a thing where you and I are talking face to face from two different states.
Good thing he died before I became a podcaster, because maybe that would have
freaked him out a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Alfred and his family moved to LaGrange, Indiana, where at some point Alfred became a shoemaker's apprentice, where he learned leather skills. Alfred also started suffering from violent seizures due to, and I couldn't tell if this was diagnosed at the time or just diagnosed after the fact, grand mal epilepsy. Which, of course, there was no cure for at the time.
No, sure there was, Mason. The cure is, let me fucking hit you in the head with a hammer. I'm
sure.
Well,
more accurately, the cure was, yeah, you're just going to do that a lot.
Yeah.
So he
do
had
some heroin, they said.
Yeah, so he had a lot of seizures. In 1861, the Civil War started. And just before his 19th birthday in 1862, Alfred 15th Regiment of the U.S. Infantry in Minnesota. They didn't explain how he went from Indiana to Minnesota. Don't worry about it.
He joined the 16th Regiment, did you say?
Yes, the 16th Regiment of the U.S. Infantry in Minnesota.
Okay.
His enlistment form says he was 5'8" with blue eyes and light hair, which is weird because, as you can see from the picture I attached, he very clearly has black hair. So, like, who fucking knows what that's all about? I guess I don't know.
He's one of those guys that lies about their appearance. He's like, no, yeah, I'm 6 foot, but they're like 5'7". You're like,
well, that's the weird thing, is because it's the guy's just like, no, I'm looking at you. And he's like, no, my hair's blonde, and it's like, no.
All right, well, I'll put that it's blonde if you say it's
honestly,
blonde.
His hair reminds me a little bit of yours.
I could do that. I was looking at it and I was like, I could do my hair like that. Maybe as a treat, I will recreate this picture.
He's not a super attractive man. He kind of looks like the bassist for the Red Hot Chili Peppers Flea, but like with a shitty wig on and stuff. But anyway,
I like his very wispy soul patch, soul patch goatee. Yeah, which and I've got a little bit of that, but.
So Packer went to Camp Thomas in Ohio for training and immediately got a tattoo on his arm that said Alfred Packer. Oh, sorry, that said Alfred Packer, 2nd Battalion, 16th Infantry.
No regrets.
A lot of historians tried to blame the tattoo artist, but the reality is his writing abilities were so low he couldn't spell his own name correctly.
Alfred.
So he had Alfred on his tattooed on his arm and didn't even know that was wrong for who knows how long. Packer had enlisted for 3 years but was discharged in December of 1862 because of his aforementioned epilepsy. He then successfully tried to enlist again later in Iowa, and his regiment was...
Iowa gets a shout out in this episode. Let's go.
Yes. Just wait. Where his regiment was sent to Tennessee, Packer would later lie and say he served as a scout for General George Custer. But that never happened. He was a liar. He lied a lot about a lot of things.
Hey, it runs in the family.
Packer was also he was also docked pay for, quote, plundering citizens of Nashville, which I'm guessing means he probably raped somebody or stole shit from somebody.
Yeah,
but it was like, I'm a soldier, I can do whatever I want. So, he was, and then he was also discharged again because of his epilepsy, where his discharge paper said that he had seizures 1 to 3 times every 48 hours.
Good.
So,
God.
like, it was like he had a lot of seizures.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
A lot. That's a lot to have a seizure. I've never had a seizure. I can only assume it's bad though. So
he had a real like Midwest adventure up until this point, where he was just going through the different Midwestern states, right? Because he went from like, he started in Indiana, or Minnesota.
He was born in Pennsylvania, then went to Indiana, enlisted in Minnesota and in Iowa, and then was discharged twice after getting sent to Nashville. But he's not done traveling because he effectively then did the 1800 version of backpacking through Europe after his discharge, and he just kind of wandered west for a while.
That's called being a bum, I think.
And yes, so, and I don't remember exactly when he was discharged the second time, but he enlisted he was discharged the first time in 62.
Okay,
so
1862.
And by 1871, he was in Bingham Canyon, Utah.
Bingham Canyon. Okay.
So he was in both of our states for a brief little bit of time.
This is tied to Captain's Log history. Wow, look at this.
Yes, like crazy. I think we may both be related to
Wow.
Okay, so in Bingham, he was like a lead miner, and he got lead poisoning twice. And so that was, and then when he was finally kind of healthy again by 1873, the most recent silver had been found in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado.
Okay.
Papers all over, the newspapers all over the United States would, so this is a little backstory of how this would work is, a story close to where like a gold rush thing would happen.
Yeah.
Like that local newspaper would write a story, and then they would send it out, and a bunch of other newspapers would just copy paste that story.
It. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
So they would reprint a Denver Tribune article that said the mountains were, quote, immense and apparently inexhaustible mineral resources.
I love when they describe things during this time as like, this will never end. There's no way we could ruin this environment, they say.
Yes. Yeah.
And then hard cut to like 6 months later, and the land is just barren.
Yeah.
And they're
we'll get more into the papers and the media in part two. We talk about it a little bit in this one, but it's just like they didn't give a fuck. The papers were just like, fucking do whatever. It was
crazy.
Literally the Wild West of newspapers.
Yeah, just the 1800s and you know leading into like the early 1900s are always just a fucking fascinating time, because it's just, if you could describe them in like a sentence, it would be, we don't give a shit for like the majority of it. Like I've been playing a lot of like Red Dead 2, and I've just been gotten into like reading about the time or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, nobody just gave a shit. Everybody was just like,
yeah. That's funny you bring that up, because by the time I ended up reading this, I couldn't hear, every time Packer has a quote, all I can hear his voices as Arthur Morgan.
Oh.
I don't know why, that just kind of stuck, so.
Yeah, he's got a great voice, that guy.
Scientifically speaking, there was a metric fuck ton of people who were trying to strike gold, silver, and, you know, any other precious metals and things. A little backstory, the official gold rush started in 1848, and afterwards they just kept having different waves, and like, you know, same the American Southwest, but they were just different waves of different rushes. Every time someone found an ore somewhere, a whole new rush would happen to that area. And that was all over the Southwest.
It's like those like 1920s or 30s like silent films where like a guy's like ding ding, and then everybody's like rushing around. It's like like it was. That's how I imagine gold rushes.
Right, and it's crazy because that would just keep happening and happening. You know what I mean? It'd be like when they found gold 100 miles west of where they found gold a month ago. Now everybody's going there, and towns would just pop up, be the biggest hub in America for like a few months, and then just completely disappear.
We've got a couple ghost towns around here that were like that. We went and visited one a couple years ago. Some friends and I called what was it called? Grafton or something like that. And it's just crazy to like see that only like 5 houses are left, but like it used to span so big, and then it's just it's crazy.
It just disappeared.
Yeah.
So at this time, what would happen is when a rush was discovered, people would set up a party, right? So they would all travel. A bunch of people would travel in a group to wherever the most
Donner
recent
party, but that's not a gold rush one. But stuff like that.
Gold rush, but yes, they traveled in parties because it was fucking super dangerous to travel anywhere in the United States, especially long distances.
For a lot of reasons.
So in 1871, the San Juans were the place to be. They were where the rush was happening. Bob McGrew was a guy from Oregon who had tried prospecting and failed, but he did own 2 4-horse wagons, which just made him hot shit. Like he just, like that was a big deal. That's like owning, I don't know what the equivalent of that even is today, because that was just like,
you got
that's
2
a
trucks.
Big deal.
You got 2 trucks.
More so, though.
In like the construction world, right? Let me bring a little bit of my knowledge to this. If I pull up to a job site with 1 truck and another guy pulls up with 2 trucks, that guy's fucking awesome. All right.
So George, he owned this shit. He owned the 2 wagons, and his partner George Tracy and
Can
him.
you just imagine that? let's go down to McGrew's house. He's got 2 fucking horse wagons.
He's got 8 horses, 2 wagons. How nuts is that?
Fuck. That guy gets tail. Let me tell you right now.
So he and his partner,
Hi,
George,
ladies. Bob McGrew. I got 2 horse wagons, 8 horses. 2 balls, 1 penis.
What?
So, actually, 1 ball, 1 penis. I lost one of them in the war.
Oh, that's hot.
Would both of you like to take a ride on my separate wagons? One of you will have to drive by yourself, though, because obviously I got to drive one of them. So,
Actually, it's nice to meet you, ladies. My name is George Tracy. I'm his partner.
look at that. We're good then. Never mind. Forget I said anything. I forgot.
Let's
Oh my
say
gosh,
we,
George Tracy. I forgot you were here.
I get it. We've only been partners for years. It's fine. It happened.
You know.
So he and his partner George Tracy, they'd given up prospecting and they were just hauling freight around Bingham County when the San Juan, not Jose. Damn, that's
Hello.
you. When the San Juan rush was happening, so Tracy was like, "Hey, we should go join a company and go prospect again." To which McGuire replied, in one of my favorite things, the quotes in this is, "Times were dull, not much to do, and winter coming on."
Just basically, he was like, "I'm not doing anything else."
Well, it's literally like there was more to that quote, but he was literally just like, as far as I was concerned, it was just as good as doing anything else at the time. Yeah. So McGrew made the decision, and then like Packer at one night just kind of wandered into their camp. Like the book isn't super clear about how this came about. It just says that Packer walked up to McGrew and said he wanted to come with them. Packer said he didn't have any money, but had lived in Colorado and would work as a guide and hired hand on the road.
That's my other favorite thing about this time is that people just wandered into people's lives. Like, you remember when we covered the urban legend of Smutty Nose Murders? You remember that? The guy that like one immigrant that from like Germany or something that they just fucking met and who was super sketchy, but they were like, he just became a part of our life, and then he killed them. But like, it's just crazy that people would just be like, "Hello, I need to work," and they're like, "We don't know anything about you. You can stick around with us for 18 months. Like, that's fine." Yeah.
So they made a deal, and McGrew was like, he was super into Packer.
They just fucking loved him.
So McGrew said, "quote."
Sometimes you get friends that wander into your friend group, and like you're like, this guy's fucking awesome. I don't know why I can't describe it, but this guy's fucking cool.
McGrew said, quote, "He appeared as though he might be an active athlete."
Wow. He's got a hot bod.
And that, quote, "while he was generally quiet, he loved to go among the Mormons and argue religion with them. I often listened to him and thought he was a smart, fine talker." So
this is just us. This is just us.
He just
too.
loved him. I guess. Yeah.
We just shit talked, Mormons, and then here we are.
Except neither of us are look to be an active athlete, but
no. I don't think you could have described either one of us as that when we met. No.
No, but he was like McGrew. Just I don't know. They don't really explain why McGrew ever was just like
McGrew wasn't a Mormon.
No, he wasn't. But
maybe that was it. Is he was just like, this guy. Hey, he's giving him shit.
So McGrew he loved him and thought that. So he brought Packer into the group. He paid Packer's $50 grub stake, which is you would pay money to this company and they would use every guy's money to buy supplies for the trip.
Very cool.
And then stake the claim at the in the Gold Rush territory, and then you'd get a profit from that.
Gotcha.
When they got it. They packed their shit and set off from Bingham, Utah to the San Juan Mountains in Colorado. It was Packer, McGrew, and Tracy, along with 18 other guys, one of which was Preston Nutter.
Fun fact, Bingham Canyon, that's still a big mine. A big copper mine down in Utah, yeah.
Interesting.
Couldn't remember if it was the one I'm thinking of. It's actually not that far from where I live.
Interesting.
But yeah, continue.
So Preston Nutter, he shows up a few days into the trip and becomes a member of the
Preston,
party.
He's a nutter.
Yes.
All right. Not the crazy kind. The other kind. I've seen him.
The Preston kind.
This guy's Preston nuts left and right.
My name's Preston Nutter. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. Yeah. You want to know how I got my name?
How?
I'm not in the peanut biz, I'll tell you that much.
Oh my, sir.
All right. So So Preston Nutter shows up, and he immediately is just not vibing with Packer. He thought the expedition, or anything really, he thought the expedition was poorly provisioned. But he was like, guys, this isn't gonna work, right? Like, this is, like, shit's fucked. This isn't good. But everybody, especially Packer, was like, no, we're good. Packer was like, no, I know what I'm talking about. I've been there. I've lived this. We're good. We're gonna be great. We're easily gonna go 400 miles in 20 days.
Yeah. Okay.
It immediately becomes clear that Packer doesn't know anything about the land. A few members of the group, and when I say a few, it was basically
Alfred doesn't know what he's talking about. The guy
Alfred,
Alfred, who's got
it's
Alfred tattooed on him?
with Alfred tattooed on him. Yes. And immediately everybody but McGrew starts to fucking hate him. There's a guy that they called Lot. It says that he was said he was a liar. Nutter quote said, "He is a man without character." They basically just say he's a big baby about like everything. So it talked about like he would just whine and be a dick about everything the whole time.
Tired.
Yes, so he was just like, he was like, Packer, shut the fuck up. We're all tired. We're walking 400 miles.
Yeah, but you guys aren't as tired as I am. I was in the army, okay? Like, I'm like,
Packer,
my body's had it. Like,
the Civil
I'm just
War just got over. We were all in the army. That was a big thing.
No,
We
but like,
remember.
look at this tattoo. So my tattoo says Alfred Packer.
That actually
16 second something.
That actually doesn't say... Actually, good point, Alfred.
You guys
So,
don't get it. You're not
Yes.
like me. I'm built different, but it's a
that's
bad
a-
different.
So
Because
that's
I'm
well,
really tired.
Well, but that was his thing. He was that guy, though, that was like, I'm built different, but is also constantly like, oh, I don't want to do
My
this.
feet hurt.
This is like, I can only imagine. He was like, my feet hurt, and they got 2 granola bars, and I only got 1. So it's like, he's seriously, what I would assume, like, I would be like, if I were on if I had to be on a
To be fair,
prospecting
I would have been like
company.
talking shit to the other guys, like, hey, I'm so fucking tired. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I'm tired.
Yeah.
What are we doing this for, guys? What are we even doing this for? I can't walk
Why-
another 20 miles. No fucking
Why
way.
do you smell like flowers?
I have some cologne. I did bring cologne because I don't want to be
Col-
stinky, and I've been taking baths every night.
don't-
So, is it? I've just been using that big jug of water to bathe myself every night.
Actually, that's the thing, is the water was the least important of their provision worries, because water at this point you could drink it
you
from
could
wherever
just get
it was.
because the streams weren't fucking polluted like they are
Yes.
nowadays. Yeah, you don't need a little fucking magic straw or whatever to drink stream
Yes.
water.
So everybody fucking hates him. Some described Packer's voice as, quote, high-pitched and whiny.
I'm tired. Oh man, I went to fucking high school with this guy, man.
Yes.
I know a kid like this.
Yes, but others would also say, quote, it was low but hollow sounding.
What is it? Hollow.
I just imagine it's like, I don't want to do this anymore, guys. Like, I don't want to.
So he's every shitty fucking kid
Yes.
that you have ever known in your life, like rolled into one.
Exactly. So
He's both the high-pitched annoying guy and the fucking dum-dum, the goon.
yes, people keep accusing him of like stealing little shit on the trail. Like there was one I didn't add the story in, but they he would like steal like 2 pieces of food off the fire, and they said he would like go away from the group and like eat under his coat, like crouched, and like eat extra food and shit, and it was like, Jesus Christ.
It's like the thing.
Alfred, did you take 2 chicken wings? Are you?
No.
Why are you?
Why are you?
Why
What
are you
makes
eating
you
under
say
your
that?
coat? What are you doing? Why are you hiding from us like behind like a cape? What is happening?
I'm masturbating. Go away.
It's that we're cowboys. You can masturbate in front of us. That we do that constantly.
Oh, we're at the Brokeback Mountain phase already?
No, that's just what cowboys do.
No, go away. I don't got nothing. Get out of here. Just
So,
chicken
yes.
bones just falling. He's not even careful about him. He's just dropping them. We can clearly see the chicken bones, Alfred. No, those are
you can't. You can't.
those are my bones. My bones are falling out.
So
To be fair,
yes.
I used to do that as a kid. My mom would be like, "You can't have any more," and I would like grab them and I'd do this. I'd be like,
I'm not eating anymore.
you'd
You
wait
look
till there
like
was
you're-
noise, and
yeah.
you're like,
So at this point, like already into the trip, it's not that long in. I don't know how long exactly, but everybody hates him except for McGrew, who is sharing his wagon with him at night. So they're sleeping in the same wagon. And it was mostly because of his epilepsy that like Packer or that McGrew felt bad for Packer. So McGrew said that he didn't know why everyone hated Packer and that almost everybody wanted McGrew to kick Packer out of the company.
I don't get it. What do you all have against Packer? Yes, he steals food.
Oh, you
yes,
just took that
he's
off my plate,
complaining.
Packer. Sorry.
Hey,
I'm gonna.
nope, yep. I was gonna eat that, but that's
Tell
okay.
him about.
That's okay.
Tell him, McGrew. Tell him about how great I
That's
am,
okay.
though.
Yes, he steals food. He shits right in the middle of camp. He's
Speaking of
often
which-
pissed his pants. Nope, please don't do it right now, Packer. I'm trying to stand up for you.
Alright.
He does all that
Alright.
shitty stuff, but
I don't forget.
He's
I
got
stole
that really-
picture of. I stole that picture of Frank's wife and I jerked off to it.
I was not gonna say that. But
Yeah, well, I
he
did.
did
it, though,
do
so.
that, Frank, and
Uh-huh.
I do apologize for that. But
Also, don't forget, I keep having seizures.
God damn it, he keeps having seizures.
Remember all my seizures, though?
Come on, guys,
I'm
you're
a
gonna
poor
hate
little-
on him for that. He's just a
I'm
poor
a
little
poor
seizure
little baby.
boy.
I'm a poor
Look,
little baby.
I understand he does some bad things, but
Packer's taking his shit in the camp again.
he's got character, guys.
I got character coming out my
character.
ass. Literally, look at it.
He's got character. I really respect him for that.
So McGrew says, quote, I knew Packer as well as any of them, and he had just as good a right as them to go along the route. Packer, for his part, hated the... Oh, sorry, this is the end of that quote. Packer, for his part, hated the rest of the party bad. But specifically a Scottish guy named Cooper and a butcher named Frank Miller, who his nickname was German because he was a German guy, but I'm just going to call him Frank.
So Scott
or
and
the butcher.
a German.
Yes, and the Scottish guy was also a doctor, apparently. I don't know what kind. Probably a medical one, because I don't know how many types of doctors there probably were in the Old
Just
West.
doctor.
I'm guessing they weren't like, he's a doctor of music. So, you know.
He's a doctor of music.
So he hated this guy named Cooper, the Scottish guy named Cooper, and the butcher named Frank. They were like the meanest. They were the hardest on him, on Packer. So he hated them the most. Like he was like, "Fucking you guys."
Just the fucking Scottish guy's like, "Oh, Packer, what you got there on your shirt?" And then he's like, "I don't know.
I don't have anything.
Gotcha.
Oh shit, you
You
motherfucker.
fucking idiot."
You
And that's when
piece
he's like,
of shit. I'm gonna stab you in the fucking throat. Well, but I also
What
think
was
he was
that?
that kind of guy too, where like I feel like this is just me postulating, but
Yeah.
it seemed like people would kind of be like joking around with him, and he
Mm-hmm.
would just take it super seriously immediately, and just be like super mad, like he couldn't handle being the butt of a joke. Yeah.
"That's not. If it came down to it, I could box you. I could.
Yes,
I
and
could
it's
beat
like-
you up."
Yeah.
You're like,
so
okay,
he
well,
just,
we're not talking about that, so
it's like you said, like he's literally just like the worst kind of guy to hang
yeah.
out with.
Ugh.
There's so much snow. They leave in, I forgot what month they leave because I'm a shitty writer. But at a certain point, it's January now. Remember how it was going to be 20 days of travel?
Right.
Well, so by now it's January 1874. They left sometime in 1873, probably right before winter of 1873.
So they've been on the road for months then.
Yes, they've been on the road for months.
Wow.
And there's so much snow that they can't even see the road, and they have no idea where they are. It's like I said, it's January 1874. The food is basically gone. People are starting to think about eating the horses.
Oh no.
And they enter the Nuchu territory, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they get surrounded by warriors who have every fucking right to murder these white people right now. Because this is... And I didn't have time to get into this whole fucking thing. The Nuchu people, they were fucked over multiple times. They had a terrible... They were the epitome of what happened to the Native Americans in this country. It was so shitty. But basically, by this point where they're getting... this company is walking through their territory.
Yeah.
They have been pushed back to one of the smallest thing. You know what I mean? So they already have been fucked over. So they get surrounded by these warriors, and basically, it's fucked. But the leader of the Nushu is this guy named Ouray, O-U-R-A-Y, who was a very well-respected leader of the Nushu people, but also just a lot of Native Americans in general. He did a lot of negotiating, and he even had a whole thing where he was kind of a tragic figure, where he was put in a position between you give up our land, you give up your land, and make this deal with you, or we just come in and murder you. And he knew basically they didn't stand a chance, so he had to make a deal with them. But then some of the natives then kind of resented him for not fighting. But it was tough.
Right? Yeah,
He was a really tragic character, but he was one of like the most. He had like the highest character, and he was great. So Ouray finds them, and it's fucking winter, and he's just like, God damn it, these fucking white people are terrible.
Have you seen that meme from Pocahontas where it's from one of the scenes where one of the tribal leaders says like, "These white men are dangerous," and it's just become a meme that people just constantly use. That's what. These goddamn white men.
Well, but he's even like he's actually really nice, and he's like, listen, he's like they explain to him. They have like he speaks some Spanish. They have a guy who speaks some Spanish.
Oh, awesome.
They like translate and have a talk, and he was basically they're like, we're just passing through on our way to this place to mine, and he's like, that's cool. We won't kill you for crossing through our territory, but also if you keep going further into the mountains, you're gonna fucking die.
Right.
And then he says, I'll tell you what, we can give you a place to stay with our tribe for the rest of the winter.
Yeah.
The Nushu, they're very nice to the company. They give them a place. They sell supplies to them. And even some of the company later quoted them saying they treated them like brothers. So they spend like...
Wow.
They spend...
Fucking,
yes.
yeah.
So,
super nice.
Within a week of this
I would not have
happening,
treated them like that.
No, you shouldn't. If I walked into you and you were these people, you should have just murdered me.
I would have just been like, look,
hi!
I took his head and now I'm using it like a puppet.
Okay, so within a week of getting settled, some of the men are already like, well, we should probably get out of here. Mm-hmm. And it's, again, Ouray is like, there's an outpost 80 miles east, but like, seriously, you're gonna die if you try.
Sorry, Mr. Ouray, but you don't know this. You don't know what you're talking
He's
about.
like, we've been living here for so long.
Yeah,
we know
but we're American and we're prospectors, so...
Yes, exactly. So... they don't give a shit. So Lot, which is the guy who hated Packer, he and
one
four
of the
others,
many guys.
Yes, one of the many. He and four other guys decide to leave, and Packer tries to come with them, but Lot points a gun at him and says if he sees Packer on the trail, he will kill him. So
he fucking hates him.
It's gone beyond it's gone beyond
like a disliking.
It's like seriously like go fuck yourself. Mm-hmm. It seems like the only reason any of them were putting up with him was because of McGrew. And so Packer's just I'm imagining was just like I didn't want to go with you anyway.
I didn't want to go, so you guys are stupid,
exactly.
stinky expedition anyway.
So Lot's group leaves with a week's worth of food. And 3 months later, they arrive at the outpost, and they're described by some of the guys that were working at the outpost as skin and bones and freezing.
What the fuck?
Yes, so they leave with a week's worth of food. They show up.
Did they? I don't know if you know this. Did they all make it?
Yes, they did actually.
Wow, that's crazy.
So 3 of them collapsed in the woods, right? And somehow Lot and another guy pushed their way through to the outpost, it's this giant cattle ranch because part of the deal with the Nushu was they would supply them with cattle, a certain amount of cattle every year or month or whatever. So they have this. It's just this outpost that that sells things for native to the Nushu people and raises their cattle. It's like white guys. So it's called the something cattle ranch, but I'm just gonna refer to it as the outpost.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and unbeknownst to this group that makes it 3 months later, is just a few days after that first group leaves, Packer and 5 other men set out following the first group. So Packer's group consists of a 16-year-old named Israel Swan. It was interesting because this group had the youngest and the oldest members of the thing. So it was Israel Swan who was 16, George Noon who I think was 60. and then the butcher, Frank Miller, and then a guy named James Humphrey and Shannon Bell. And they leave the camp in the second week of February. April 16th, 1874. A man named Alonzo Hartman was working at the outpost when Packer comes walking down the creek. Hartman noted that he was a bit scruffier, even by Old West prospector standards. But Hartman said Packer, quote, showed little sign of having been lost in the wild.
Oh, okay.
So the other guys, they were described as nothing but skin and bones and
guy's
freezing to death.
He
comes out, yes, licking his fucking fingers.
All right. Oh, hey, guys.
And we can't say exactly what happened up in the mountains yet. For those the 3 months, because February, March, April.
February,
so
3 months, yeah.
For the beginning, at least, it's easy to infer, though, that Packer's group suffered fucking terribly.
Right.
Like every other expedition that happened in the West, basically, especially when you got to that end of the West where there were the mountains before California, like the Donner
and they're
Party
crossing
and shit.
they're crossing into Colorado, right?
Yes, they're basically at.
So they would have had to have crossed the Rockies. So
yes, you would. So I don't know this terrain really well. You might though. It's they're on the border of Utah and Colorado.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean that's like canyons and shit, and I can imagine crossing it in the 1800s with fucking snow and wagons. Yeah,
and I probably didn't explain this great, but they are the outpost, or not the outpost, the Ouray and his tribe, they're in the mountains, right? That's where they stayed up in the mountains for a little bit. And they had it fucking made in the goddamn shade up there. They had fucking they had like a spring with fresh water. They were trading goats and coffee, and they had everything they needed.
But
anyway.
they knew more, Mason.
Well, and to be fair though, I mean, out of the 21 guys, it was 9 of the 10. Only 10 or 11. About half of them were smart enough
That's
to
the
stay.
difference,
They
Mason.
weren't sheep, yes.
The other ones were sheep, all right? Those
So-
guys listen to Joe Rogan. They're not sheep.
So like every other expedition, they had no fucking clue what they were doing. They had no clue how long the trip was going to be. And this is just like their entire trip down here. Like the group of 21 were fucking around and they were doing terrible too. I just skipped over a lot of their shitty decision making and terrible luck, but so they the group of Packers group now, they quickly ran out of food and they had to hunt and forage, and there are plants called rosebuds or whatever up there, right? I don't know exactly what they are, but apparently both groups stated that they had sustained themselves on rosebuds a lot. So they had to hunt and forage, and when you have to hunt and forage, it becomes harder and harder the longer you go without eating. There was a story of the first group, of Lot's group, who they saw a coyote eating something, and they shot at the coyote, but they were so weak they fucking, and the guns suck anyway, so they missed the coyote. But thankfully, it was eating a deer leg, so they ate the coyote's deer leg that scared off the coyote and ate that for sustenance.
Wow.
Yes. Anyway, Packer stated that the men would later state that the men resorted to boiling and eating their own shoes at one point.
I've heard of this. This is crazy that they would eat shoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, anything that was leather, you could boil down to a chewable thing and eat it. I mean, not that it was great, but it was what you had to do. And there's evidence to back up that they ate their shoes. But in a weird coincidence, and a pretty funny one, about a few hours after Packer arrived in camp, 3 members of the company who listened to Ouray and just stayed the whole winter had left on April 2nd. Ouray's camp had also arrived. So if they had just waited, they would have arrived on the same day.
Yeah, so it only took those guys
like a week, basically. A little over a week.
14 days, 2 weeks. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were fine, obviously, because they were ready. The trail was easy because the snow was melting. I just think that's fucking nuts. So on the same day, 3 members of the party, the original party, arrived at the outpost. and they arrived just a few hours after Packer. These three were the Scottish guy Cooper, Preston Nutter, and a guy only known as Italian Tom.
Hey, I'm Italian Tom, alright? What else do you need to know? That's it.
Nothing, because they never mention him again. Italian Tom is in and out of the story.
Everybody fucking loves Italian Tom. He's a hoot.
So they run into Packer, right? So the three guys, they run into Packer, and they're immediately like, "Oh, what the fuck? Fuck this guy really?
lived."
So they're like, and they immediately are like, "Where the fuck are the other five guys at?" And Packer says that he had fallen ill early in the trip, and that the other men had been left behind, or had left Packer behind. Packer he kept saying his feet froze.
My feet froze.
Yes, so he kept saying their feet froze, and the other men left him behind.
Packer, what do you mean by that? I had ice blocks on my feet.
Yes,
my
and
feet
so
froze.
And so they stay a few days and kind of get their strength back or whatever. And then, not that any of them were that weak, because another thing is Packer was just about as healthy as the other guys, right? So the group of their four guys now are traveling to the town of Saguache. And I don't remember if that was in Colorado or Utah. I don't think it exists anymore anyway, either way. So, and on this way to Saguache, they notice that Packer is carrying the knife of Frank the Butcher. Lived and was really proud of, and he's carrying it. And he's also has 2 billboards. I didn't get into this a whole lot, but Packer goes on like a
billboards
weird
or billfolds?
Billfolds, did I say boards?
Yeah, you did.
He's got 2 billboards and a lot of money. Which is weird because he was broke as shit when he came. And like he goes, I left this out of the thing, but he goes on a spending spree in Saguache. He buys like a horse and bridle, which is like $60, and he's kind of like living it up every night. He's staying in a bar and he's getting shit-faced a bunch, and he's kind of becomes he's that type of guy that like immediately becomes like that guy around town that like he's friendly enough that people talk to a lot, but like people hate him at the same time because he's like loud and obnoxious. So there's this guy named General Charles Adams. He's the head of the outpost of the cattle agency, and he also just happened to be in Saguache, and he and his wife are having breakfast one day when he meets Packer. Packer told the same story of his survival, and that makes Adam think that if Packer survived, well, the other men are probably still alive too, right? And I don't know if Adam knows about the first group, but the first group, all 5 of them survive, right? So Adams is like, well, let's go get them, right? Like, Packer, we should go get the rest of your friends, right? And you can lead us, you can guide us because you were there. And Packer's like, yeah, of course I can do that.
Nothing I would love more than to do that. My feet, though, they still kind of...
Well, it's weird because I just saw you dancing last night at the saloon. You were dancing a lot. Yeah, you were dancing.
I was...
You kept drinking whiskey and saying, "My feet are great. My feet are great. Do you want to see them? Because they're so great." That was like 8 hours ago.
I did say that.
You did, and you live at the saloon right now. You have a room in the saloon, so it seems weird like you wouldn't have been able to hurt your feet.
Right.
Since then.
That's the thing.
So
yep. Okay, yeah, I can.
Cool. You want to go?
Yeah, I can help you find them.
Okay.
Yes, let me just...
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah,
cool,
okay.
Cool. So several members of the company, so they go back, so Packer and Adams, with probably some other guys, travel back to the outpost, right? Which I don't know how long it is from the outpost to Saguache, but they're pretty close together. You know what I mean? It's like maybe a day's ride.
Right.
So when they get there, there's more members of the original company who had traveled down from Uray's camp, right? They're at the outpost because that's the natural stopping place before moving on. And they get there, and the rest of the members immediately are like, "You fucking murdered them, didn't you?"
What? No.
And by this point, Adams knows about the billfolds and the money. And so Adams is like, "Why don't you come into my office and let's have a little chitty chat about all this shit, right?" When asked about the money, he said that the blacksmith in Saguache loaned it to him. And so Adams goes, "Cool, you go. Why don't you go ask the blacksmith if he loaned you money, or if he loaned Packer money?" And I don't know if I don't think he said that in front of Packer, but it's like, why the fuck would you make up such a shitty lie? You know what? If I were Packer, here's what I would have done. I would have said, oh, I'm gonna be honest. I just lied. I had money this whole time. I just didn't
Yeah.
want to pay for
I didn't
stuff.
want- right,
Because
yeah.
that's not a crime. You're just
No.
an asshole, and
You
they
just
already
suck.
they're accusing you of murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, they asked him about the money. He made up some quick bullshit about the blacksmith loaning it to him. Adam sends a guy to go ask the blacksmith, and they search him for the second wallet because he's heard that he had 2 wallets, but they don't find one. However, and I don't know if this is after this or if this is talking to Adams, another Outpost member says he claims to see Packer throw something into a stream.
No, I saw
earlier.
you. I saw you last night. You threw something in the water.
No, I was skipping rocks.
No, you said,
helps
I
clear my
remember
head.
I saw you and you went, got to get rid of this, and then you threw it into the water.
Yes, I did, and it was because the blacksmith also loaned me his billfold,
Uh-huh.
and he said, throw this in the stream when you're done with it. So,
Why
just
would he say
following-
that? That's kind of weird. Let me
Well,
go ask
and-
him. Hey,
Well, don't,
Jimmy.
because you don't,
What's up? Hey, Jimmy.
I just, yeah,
Jimmy,
no,
did you-
yeah, sorry, what? No, it's me, Jimmy.
Did you tell Packer to throw away the wallet that you let him borrow?
Who?
Packer, this guy.
Oh, the guy that came into town and got drunk a lot?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, see, Packer, this is where we might have a problem.
All right, so shit immediately is turning on Packer.
Right.
Everyone had thought that he had done something. So Adams is now like, we're doing an official inquiry into this. So he starts questioning him, and Packer is like kind of darting around, and he's like, no, everything's fine. No, I didn't do anything. And then Packer's like, look, I asked the blacksmith, dude. He said he never gave you any money. So he's like, this is going to be easier if you just tell me all the truth.
Right.
Because right now, Adams thinks Packer is more of a victim than he is like a straight-up killer.
Right.
He just thinks Packer is ashamed of something bad happened that he doesn't want to talk about.
Right.
He seems like he's this is a normal thing in the West for people to have to survive through insanely horrible ordeals
Right.
in the wilderness. So he's like, look, just tell me what happened, man. It'll be okay. And Packer kind of says he says something about well, I'll tell you, but I'm afraid of what the other guys from the outpost are gonna do. And Adams is like, listen, I get it, buddy. It's okay. Your past doesn't involve us here. It's fine. Just tell me what happened. And Packer looks at Adams for a second, and he says, quote, "It wouldn't be the first time that people had obliged to eat each other when they were hungry." Which, holy shit, right?
It's like if I'm at a police station and I'm being accused of murder and I'm like, well, it wouldn't be the first time that somebody's, shot someone, right?
Well, but it's actually not quite that bad because Adams is like,
Well, yeah, because
No.
yeah, right. It wouldn't be
wouldn't.
the first time. Yeah.
and the book, and I'll link. We'll link the book in the show notes. Right?
Yeah.
It's this amazing. It's Harold Schechter. He's an amazing true crime writer. It's called The Man Eater, or just Man Eater. He spoiler alert. He goes into this whole breakdown of where honestly things were never really cannibalization in terms of survival in the wilderness was almost rarely ever looked upon as ostracizing the people. There's a really thing in history where if you survive an ordeal through cannibalism, you're seen as sympathetic. Like people feel bad for you, and they think well, I would have done the same thing. You're okay. So that's a whole thing. So Adams is he's agrees. He's no, it wouldn't be the first time someone ate somebody else, and anyway. So Packer's on board, or Adams is on board with Packer for the most part. He thinks fucked up shit happens, but he thinks he's the victim of something and that he had to survive an ordeal.
right.
So he's like, all right, tell me what fucking happened. And Packer said that Swan had died of starvation 10 days after leaving camp. And the other 5 men immediately ate him and took strips of his flesh for the trip. Right. And then soon after that, Humphreys just collapsed. And again, the remaining 4 ate him. But that's weird anyway, because it's why would he just collapse? Because, he just ate people, right?
Yeah.
So now there are 4 guys left, and Packer said that... Oh, and Packer said that also he had taken $133 from Humphreys.
Right.
He didn't kill him, he just took the money.
He just
and
took
it's
the money, yeah.
Which is a gray area, but okay, whatever.
Dead man don't need money.
So then you're right, and then so Packer is he says he's collecting firewood one night while they're out in the wilderness, and when he comes back, Bell and Noon had murdered Frank the butcher, and because it was Frank had like I don't know some sort of illness that was slowing the party down, so they murdered him and ate him.
Yeah. He had slow man syndrome. He was really slow at walking, so they killed him.
Also, I just feel like if you have to do a lot of people eating, you shouldn't kill the butcher.
No.
Right?
He knows what to do.
He knows what to do. So Bell and Noon kill Frank the butcher, and they eat him. They eat Frank, and then the three men, Bell, Noon, and Packer, continue on for a little bit. Soon, Bell kills George Noon, and he and Packer strip. There's no reason, they just killed him due to hunger, I'm assuming. Stripped, fire roasted, and consumed Noon's human flesh. Now, there are only two guys left. And they're immediately like, well, we're going to make a pact. We're going to make an honest-to-God pact right now. We are definitely not going to kill each other. We're not going to... Noon? Bell?
Definitely
we're not going to kill each other, right?
Right. And then it's just...
Why is your hand behind your back?
What's up? I'm just scratching. No, yeah, definitely.
Are you... Oh.
Let's shake on it.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I'm not going to eat you, is what I said.
Well, that's good, because we just made it a totally agreement,
yeah.
and I know you've murdered two people now.
Not going to do that again.
But you're not going to do that to me,
No,
right?
come on, we're friends, you and I.
Gotcha, okay, so I'm just going
walk
to turn...
ahead of me, though, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn my back and bend down and pick this up. Hey, so I was also thinking, did you want something? Did you want a soda out of the pack? Are you just...
Yeah, I'm just
Why do you have
stretching.
Why do you have that gun in your hand?
I was just doing some workouts, doing some bench presses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, why don't you go back there, grab me a...
Right, so...
Yeah.
Yes, so they totally make a pact to not kill each other for food. So immediately after their thing, a few days afterwards, Bell tries to hit Packer with the butt of his rifle, but he misses. Packer dodges, rolls out, shoots Bell, kills him, cannibalizes him. The old SKC, shoot, kill, cannibalize.
Yeah.
Yes, hot and ready. Hot and ready. This is hot and ready winter.
Wow.
And then so Packer says he kills and eats Bell, and he reaches the outpost just 2 weeks later, and he's like, it's like you said, he's like the meat off his fingers right as he's rolling into camp. He says he just finished the rest of his meat. Now there's a report that one of the Nuchu people came across him eating something next to a stream in the wilderness, and that he flung something into the river real quick.
Hey, what's up?
yes, he was like, hey,
not doing anything.
whoa.
Hey, how you doing? How are you?
And then that later they discovered a human arm washed up in the shore. But he says he ran out of meat just before running just before reaching the outpost.
Right.
And Adams fully believes this confession. He's like, yeah, sure, cool, that makes total sense. And he's like, I would fully understand why you wouldn't want to tell people that. That's fucking horrific.
Yeah.
And you did technically kill someone, but honestly, if he fucking tried to kill you, that's cool. But Preston Nutter and the rest of the party were like, no, that fucking never happened. They go into it a little bit more. Harold Schechter goes into it a little bit more, where they were like, well, this guy would never. He was a super nice guy. He never tried to I think it was Bell or Noon would never kill anybody. And anyway, and then they also point out the fact no, you hated the butcher with more than anybody.
Right?
You fucking hated him.
Didn't you? Hey Packer, didn't you constantly say if I could kill anybody here, it would be Frank the Butcher?
Well, I mean, I said that. I said if I could fill anyone here with love, it would be Frank the Butcher.
And then
I'm a loving
I also
guy.
remember you saying one night, God, I really want to rip Frank the Butcher apart and eat him. You said.
No, I said I really want to tip Frank the Butcher a lot, and then eat. When I said eat him, but I meant his butchered goods, because he's a butcher.
Oh.
So.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Our bad.
Yeah, you're bad, you fucking piece of shit. As soon as you turn your back, I'm gonna bash your fucking head in.
What'd you say? Sorry, what was that?
I said as soon as I see a bat, I'm gonna take a bath with a rat shit.
That's weird. You're a weird guy, Packer. Okay,
Yeah,
though.
I am. So Adams is like, okay, I believe you, and this is, but they're not convinced, and it's just like, you know what? No worries, guys. I'll tell you what. Let's just go on mosey up to the where this all happened at, and we'll find all the evidence, and everything will be great. This will be easy. So they throw a little search party together, and they head back up into the mountains to investigate Packer's claim. So along with the party, the outpost constable comes, right, who's like a cop, as close to a cop as they have. And he's brought to keep an eye on Packer, because the guys are like, we need to watch him, and Adams is like, okay.
All constables are bastards.
Yes. And for Adams, he's like a general, he's a pretty even-keeled guy, and he's like, well, that's fair, just in case, Packer. I mean, you did say you shot the guy, so we'll bring him along. And the constable says that Packer tried to attack him with the knife. But like, it doesn't seem, and I don't know when that supposedly happened, but like, no one seemed like that was like they were really worried about Packer while they were up in the thing, doing the search. So like, I don't know how true that is. It may have just been like,
hey, ACAB.
Yeah, like during a trial and everything that like he brought that up just for a little bit of clout, but so the party is retracing Packer's steps until they get to Lake San Cristobal. Are you familiar with where that is?
No,
okay,
that must be in Colorado.
Could be. And Packer's he's leading the group. He's doing exactly what he says. But they get to the San Cristobal area, and he's just kind of like immediately what I can only describe as what I can only describe as like what Gandalf does in the Mines of Moria, where he looks around. He's like, I have no memory of this place.
Yeah.
Because he's lost. He's like, I have no idea where I am. I don't know, whatever.
Dude, and he refuses. The thing that Vince does in Pulp Fiction, where he's like holding the coat and he's looking around, like. And
he refuses, and they're like, well, guess, and he's like, nope, can't, lost. And he refuses to take him any further. So the constable, at least the constable and Packer, maybe some more, they get sent back to the outpost, right? And that may be where the attack happened too, and that's why it didn't seem that hostile. Who knows? So the rest of the guys, they stay and they search, and eventually they come across what they're pretty sure is Packer's camp. There's like a little bark hut, and inside the bark hut on the ground is like super scuffed, and like there's like heel marks dug into the ground, and there's like a head thing, like it looks like he'd been having seizures in the dirt, and it had made like an indentation. So Packer probably had his seizures there, but there were no bodies, right? There's no bodies. There's no real evidence to back up Packer's claim of any of this, right? There's not a lot of evidence against it either. You know what I mean? There's not any evidence to back up that anything else happened, but there's nothing that exclusively says that what happened, what Packer said, happened.
Right.
So, when the bodies were actually found, it's a little bit of a mystery.
Right.
There's a few articles who say that some prospectors found it, but the general exception is that an artist named John A. Randolph found them while doing illustrations for a newspaper. This was before photography was a normal thing. So newspapers would send guys out to do like drawings of landscapes and shit. Around August, so this is all of the rest of the shit that we just explained happened in around April and June, right? So now in August, the bodies are found by this artist. Randolph finds them, and he immediately sees a group of prospectors who he alerts, and they follow Randolph back to where the bodies are, and this prospector, John R. Pond, who was one of the miners, recalled, quote, "They told us they had found some dead bodies up near the river close to the San Cristobal Lake. I and a number of others went up to see them. The stench and the apparent desolation sickened me, and I could not go examine the bodies closely. But I noticed 4 of them were laying close together, and where the blanket was on one of them was turned up, probably by the winds. The thigh looked as though it had been cut out. All 4 men were covered with blankets. The 5th lay quite a ways away from the others, and the head was gone." And Randolph, being an artist, actually drew the picture, and Pond had a great quote of he was like shocked to turn around to see Randolph just like scribbling in a little notepad. Like,
can you just imagine like you're just a fucking illustrator. You get sent out there, and you're just like,
Right.
I'm gonna do the landscape or whatever, and just fucking bodies. Like, oh,
And it's not a hyper realistic drawing,
Uh-huh.
but I actually looked in here. This is the
it's
drawing,
pretty
and you can Google
spooky.
John A. Randolph. It's super cool. So I thought we'd just talk about it a little bit. What I'm a little confused on is because you can see it has the names, right?
Uh-huh.
So there's Noon. There's George Noon is on the top left. There's James Humphreys in the top right. Mm-hmm. That is Shannon Bell in the middle. It looks like there's only one body, right, on the bottom, but on the left corner is Israel Swan, and on the right is Frank Miller. Right, and they're kind
Yeah.
of laid out almost like how you would see dice, the 5 on a dice, right, where it's like 2 are on the top, 1's in the middle, 2 are on the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, again, this isn't super realistic, but they're also not that covered up by blankets either. Like, he described, he's like, there was just a little bit of thigh, and I could see that there was a piece carved out of it, but, like, there's full-on bodies exposed in Randolph's drawing.
Also, it's crazy because, like, some of them, like, their face is more intact.
Yes.
Like he just
And-
ate everything beneath the head, which I guess,
Yeah.
you know, that's understandable.
And
but,
again, take this with a little bit
right,
of salt.
it's not,
because
it's not a photograph.
But
it's-
also, you know, they describe Frank Miller as being headless, but in the picture he's drawn, he doesn't have shoulders. It's just a spinal cord that ends. There's no ribs, shoulders, or head or anything in the picture. So, it's pretty spooky. It's a really cool drawing.
it's, yeah, wow.
If it weren't based on real murders, it'd probably be one of my favorite paintings I've ever seen.
yeah.
And the drawings make it look like it's basically skeletons. You talked about this, where it's like some look like straight up bones and others had like faces, but don't be fooled by that. They were very fleshy still.
Oh.
They were just in a very advanced state of decay, so they were like everything had collapsed in on itself and it
gotcha,
was
okay.
gross. Like the organs and shit had liquefied at this point, but
Right.
the skin and shit was still intact. And again, this is August, right? They left in February. Packer arrived in April. So, sometime between February and late February, early April, these guys were murdered and left here. These guys were, well, maybe not murdered. These guys that died and were put in this place. So whatever, you know, preservation the winter cold is disappeared.
It's gone,
because
long
it's fucking
gone by this
mid-August.
point. Yeah.
So they're gross, and it's like Pawn said, the stench is unbearable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is in the cowboy times. Things don't smell good.
No, nothing smells good.
So the spot that the bodies were found is now referred to as Cannibal Plateau, and the little valley below is now known as Dead Man's Gulch.
Ah.
Which is interesting because you hear about Dead Man Gulch. That's like kind of a famous old westerny name for things, and I don't know if this is the original one where
Right.
that came from, but I just thought that was kind of neat. So news of the murders becomes widespread in the next month of September because shit travels slow as fuck.
Yeah.
And the case is, I mean, it gets as close to national news as you could get in
Right.
old western cowboy times.
Yeah.
The New York Times publishes an article on September 9th, and by that point, Packer was gone. He had escaped from custody.
He's just
But-
fucking dipped.
Well, but also, it was less that he escaped and more was set free by the founders of the town of Saguache, who had concluded that before the bodies were found, so sometime pretty quick after, I mean, it was
Right.
like still probably in like June or April,
Right.
that they were like, there was no evidence tying him there, and it wasn't worth the $5 a day it cost the town to keep him in jail. So the sheriff had went to get some provisions to a different town, and they just kind of walked in, gave him some food, and was like, "Get on out of here."
Yeah.
So the bodies are found in August, and immediately they set a warrant for Packer's arrest and a $500 dead or alive bounty on his head. However, Packer wasn't found, and by the next year, 1875. The story, the news cycle, it's gone. It's out of, you know what I mean? People just stopped talking about it. The Lake City Silver, which is a newspaper, reported on July 31st of 1875 that a human skull had been found a mile from the Dead Man's Gulch that apparently had hatchet marks in it, which matched up to the hatchet marks that were found on the other bodies.
Uh-huh.
And it was allegedly Frank Miller's skull, the butcher's skull.
Right.
Which, and we'll talk about this too, but Frank Miller was one of the guys that Packer hated the most.
Right.
So beheading him and removing that is like a level of like crazy spite. Like you hear that in serial killers, you know what I
Right.
mean? Where like he hated somebody, so it was personal. That's why the head was
Yeah.
removed from him and not everybody else. My theory, anyway. But whether this skull was even actually found was never confirmed, much less if it was Miller's.
Right.
But that was the end of the thing. They just were like, he's gone, it's over.
Right.
He just brutally murdered and cannibalized 5 people. Mm-hmm. And he's never going to be found again. He's just going
Right.
to live his life somewhere. Fast forward all the way to 1883. This is 10 years after the gruesome killing and eating of Packer's party, and a member of the original company of 21 guys, a guy named Jean Frenchy Cabazon.
Jean-Frenchy Cabazon?
Yes, so he is, he's long given up prospecting,
Uh-huh.
and he's laying down for bed one night at a roadhouse in Cheyenne, Wyoming, when he hears a very distinctive high-pitched voice. And Frenchie goes over to the owner of said voice and introduces himself. And the man says that his name is John Schwartz.
How you doing? My name is John Schwartz.
He's missing 2 fingers on his left hand, and he's got some gross-ass fake teeth. Despite these abnormities, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Despite this, Frenchie is like, Schwartz is fucking, that's the human hyena, motherfucker. That's Alfred Packer. And he, of course, he knows everything that happened.
Uh-huh.
So the next morning, I guess he just slept in the same house as Alfred Packer.
Yeah. I think this
guess-
guy's a killer. All right,
And
we're
I
good
guess
now.
I don't know if he thought that Packer either Packer didn't recognize Frenchie or he was just like, he doesn't recognize me, so it's fine. He sleeps. He goes to bed. The next morning, he immediately goes to the sheriff of Cheyenne or wherever they're at, and tells him like that motherfucker that's Alfred Packer, and people still know who Packer is. You know what I mean? So the sheriff is like, that sounds like bullshit. I don't know about that. So because everybody kind of assumes Packer died already. There was a rumor that he had died in Arizona, and there's no proof of everything,
Right.
anything in cowboy times. So it's like whatever. He sends a telegram, a letter to his immediate supervisor, and a week later, he receives a telegram that says, "Arrest Packer, alias John Schwartz, at once, take no chances whatsoever. Identification marks: the forefinger on his left hand off at the second joint, and little finger off on the same hand at the second joint. 2 upper front teeth gone and replaced by artificial ones. Wire me at once." So this motherfucker's Alfred Packer. They're sure.
Right.
So Packer was by then staying in a cabin about 30 miles outside of Cheyenne.
Uh-huh.
Sheriff Campbell, the guy's name, and his brother Dan arrive at the cabin in the afternoon, and Packer comes out the doorway and is coming towards them. So they see him. They whip their wagon around behind a hay field or the hay bale. Yeah, right.
They're pulling
they
out
hop
Fast and
out.
the Furious style and just fucking drifting right up there.
So they they jump out. They pull the guns on him, and Campbell and Packer, he sees the guns getting pulled, and he says, "Quote, what are you fellows fooling about?"
Hell of
Which-
a way to say hi.
That's the one that sounds like, is that not the most Arthur Morgan-y
Yeah.
quote?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are you fellas fooling about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so Campbell responds that Packer is under arrest, and Packer, he makes a real quick movement to his belt, right? Like he's trying to grab
Right,
his gun. And Dan, who's got him covered, in one of the most movie-like badass one-liners, quote, "Throw them hands up or I'll put a bullet right through you."
And I think that was one of the rules of the Old West is that you had to
Yeah.
have good one-liners.
Well, and there's a few in this book, too. And I really respect Harold Schechter. I didn't look a whole lot into him, but I don't think he juices stories very much.
Right.
But, like, this one, and can you imagine, like, when he's talking to Adams and he, like, looks up and he's like, wouldn't be the first time man were obliged to eat each other while in the wilderness. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Certain
No, yeah,
lines
that's
in this
crazy,
are just like,
yeah.
whoa. So Dan yells, "Throw them hands up, or I'll put a bullet right through you." And Packer puts in his cuff, and he says the second most badass Western quote line of, "That's the first time in 20 years I didn't have my gun on. If I had, you fellas never could have taken me. I would have gotten one, or both of you for sure." And Dan, who's kind of a shit talker apparently, responds to that with, "What in the hell you think we'd be doing all that time?"
Yeah.
Which I think is a jab at him being slow to pull his gun because
Yeah.
he made that movement, and I think he would be like, "What the hell you think we would have done in all the time it took you to get to
Right,
your
yeah.
gun?"
Son, I would have read a book by then, and I don't even know how to read.
Right, yes, I would have learned to read English.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. That was kind of a so-so response. Probably a sick burn for the 1880s.
Yeah,
though.
you know, the deputy with him was like,
Well, that's the thing. That's the weird thing too. There's no deputy. It's the sheriff
oh,
and
it's
his
the
brother.
sheriff. Oh, that's right.
And that's all it is. And I don't even think the brother is a deputy or a lawman.
He's
He was
just
just
his
like,
brother.
"Dan, I got to go arrest somebody. You want to come?" And he was like, "Sure."
Sure, I'm not doing nothing.
So Campbell, he pulls out the telegram, and he's looking Packer up like a show dog, and he's
Yeah.
like tapping on his teeth and
Yeah.
like sucking on his finger nubs just to make sure.
Yeah, that's
And
him.
after a moment, Alfred Packer was finally in custody. 9 years
Fuck.
after the brutal murder, dismemberment, and cannibalization of 5 other men in the wilderness of Utah, Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado
area.
border.
And that is where we will pick up in part 2 of Alfred Packer, where we'll cover his trial, the rest of his confessions, and his inevitable death.
Wow.
Yes.
It's fucking crazy. Actually, I
It's-
think it was a Wendigo. So,
Why did he live? Well, okay, and actually, this is a little thing here, and this is another thing. This is going to be a reference for 6 people.
right.
In the movie, and now I have to look up the fucking movie. God damn it! It's the movie with, I think it's got Jeremy Piven in it, about the Wendigo and the old Civil
yes.
War thing. I told you about it, but I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's, is it Ravenous?
Ravenous. In the movie Ravenous, which is about a Wendigo infiltrates like a Civil War base. It's a fucking amazing horror movie. You guys should
Right,
watch
yeah.
it. It's great. The guy looks like Alfred Packer. He's got the same long hair the Wendigo does. I think it's based on him. I don't know for sure. I just think so. But it's a fun story. We didn't get... It's hard to do the gruesomeness of the thing without his confessions, but I didn't want to spoil anything. So... But now we're pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
He murdered
Right,
those fucking
yeah,
people.
he definitely did.
So next time we're going to get into the more nitty-gritty details of how he did it, what happened, why he did it, and the eventual trial. Because there was, and I didn't cover this, but there was for him for a decade. He was running from the law, and he was the most wanted man in America for a little bit.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, right?
Wow. He went from, like, being a real shitty guy to, like...
And so that's
Killing
what
people.
I probably didn't do as good job as Harold Schechter. Again, Maneater is the book. That was the main source for this. But he builds it where, like, he keeps talking about, like, so, like, you know, there was the lies about in all the way back to the army. He kept lying. He constantly was lying about his epilepsy, saying that, like, every time new people saw him have a seizure, he would say that was the first seizure he ever had. There was the him getting docked pay for plundering, which first starts to show he's kind of got a predatory streak in him.
Right.
So there were things leading up to this, but yeah, he was.
Well,
he's
and,
a
you know,
shitbag,
with I just listened to one of the last podcasts series on one of Danny Rolling.
Yes.
The Gainesville Ripper. And it's interesting because, like, as soon as you said, you know, he had seizures, I was like, okay, because a lot of serial killers, it comes from traumatic head injuries or, you know,
Right.
mental health problems like
Right.
that, where it's traumatic to the brain. And I think
Yes.
most people would agree that, you know, seizures and epilepsy is definitely one of those traumatic brain
Especially back
problems,
in the 1800s Like,
when
there
you
were
have
times,
nothing to help you with.
And so McGrew would say too that he would have a lot of seizures at night, and he would like stand up in the cabin and then fall back over. Or
Yeah, all that falling
wagon,
probably was
and
not.
especially you fall, you're gonna brain yourself a lot too.
But we'll have to see once we get into the second part and we talk about.
And so another
that
good
stuff.
and another good debate we're gonna have about this too is, would he have been a murderer if not put in an extreme survival circumstance? You know what I mean? And we'll have a better way of kind of looking at that after next episode. But yeah, it's interesting. So,
well,
with that, guys, if you like the show, please leave a 5-star review, which you can do in-app on Apple Podcast, Audible, or Podchaser. We'd really appreciate it if you'd leave us a review. Plus, it really helps the show. And maybe we'll even read your review on the show, right? That'd be a little fun, little fun thing. Remember, dicks. Remember, I'm not Jose, and I don't read this as well as Jose does. Another thing you can do to fuck me. Okay.
What can I do to fuck you?
You can support our show by going to patreon.com/captainslog and donate $1. Anything will help keep the lights on. Another thing you can do to help the show is go to get your sweet little fine ass over to Teepublic and shop our merch. Jose, not only do we have merch, Jose,
Yeah.
we have new merch.
We have new merch. Yeah,
And
2
who
new
was it
designs.
designed by? Who designed it?
This little Midwestern rat that I know. We have 2 new designs created by our very own Mason Schrader, the spooky ghosty demon boys, and Hot and Ready, the Hot and Ready little Caesar's demon. He's got a little shirt now.
Canonically got a face now.
Yeah,
In the look, and I'm
I just
pretty
got
proud
some
it.
of that merch. I'll have hopefully by the second part of
Yes.
this, it can be here so I can show some of it off. But we've already got people that shop the designs, and it's awesome. They're selling
great.
like hotcakes.
And it means a lot to me personally, just that people are willing to wear
Yeah.
own something that has my art on it.
We've heard.
That makes me feel
I've
nice.
gotten
so.
nothing but compliments about them. So
I was pretty proud of it. So even if you should buy something if you can't afford it right now, if you go look at it and tweet us or send us a message, comment on something, and just say I like it, I would sure appreciate it personally.
Yeah.
So, yes. So anything you buy is gonna go. Any money we get is gonna go towards improving the show, getting better recording equipment, anything like that. Jose, where can our listeners find you?
they can find me on Instagram and Twitter at j.valle_junior, and at josevallejr.com, where that's got a link to like everything. So if you really want to go find me on everything, go find me there. You can also find me on YouTube at Animal Productions.
Yay. You can also find the show on Twitter and Instagram at Captain's Log Pod, where mostly Jose will recommend different materials, and you can check out post-show updates, and we'll post some funny things every once in a while, and so check that out, please. And if you can't get enough of Jose, you can also check out Max Binion, our friend of the log, and Jose's other podcast, Max and Jose Have Something to Say.
Yeah,
I
we've
thought
been on
Jose
a break,
was-
but we'll come back.
I thought Jose was going to read that part, but apparently I will.
I will say this. You can also find us on, aside from our Instagram and Twitter, you can find us on YouTube, where we've got
that's right.
all the video episodes up completely.
Yeah.
We're staying up to date on it. Finally, we're there. So
And
we
if
just
you're
did-
watching it, you can see us recommend
hey,
it.
Look, hey.
Right, you
fucking
hey,
you. Hey.
It's nice to see you.
But
You're
yeah,
looking good.
Go
You
subscribe.
lost weight.
Wow. That's all I'll say to that. But go subscribe on there. Get us our subscribers up.
Yeah. And you can find me on Twitter as well at Mason Schrader. That's Mason SHRADER. And eventually you'll be able to find my art somewhere. I've recently been having a little trouble with Redbubble, and I plan on moving my artwork, so I don't know where I'm going to go yet, but I'm going to find it, and I'm going to keep you updated. Make sure to tell your friends and family about the show if you enjoy it, and if you'd like to share your opinion on whether you think or not maybe it was a Wendigo that killed these 5 poor men, and Packer just got framed, or maybe
Yeah.
Packer was a Wendigo. Who knows?
Well, yeah, Wendigos, they possess the person.
Hey, when you gotta go, when to
You
go.
got.
You gotta go.
We're
when
gonna
to
get
go.
eaten by a
Okay.
Wendigo for making that joke.
I live in a second-story apartment.
They'll
so-
get you.
Oh fuck! I don't care.
But yeah,
So yeah, please check us out. You can also suggest topics, guests you'd like to have. Make sure to subscribe or download on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play, and any other podcast directory. Thank you, Carlos Rivera, for composing our new show's theme, which is absolutely phenomenal.
Fucking love it.
Everybody's saying it. Everybody's saying it's great. Nothing
Variety,
but,
Vogue.
My mom really likes it.
oh, that's awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
Variety, Vogue, Mason's mom,
Mason's
all big
mom,
fans.
Big fans.
Yeah. I didn't change this. I haven't been your captain. I've been your first officer, Mason Schrader, joined by.
Your captain, Jose Valle Jr.
So yeah, join us soon for another special episode, and that'll be the end of transmission.
Pew. Boop.
Oh, I feel like I
well,
do it better. I'm gonna be honest.